365 Days of Horsemanship, day 108. Quite an interesting day today. One of the interesting things about it, I think, is when I'm in a good mental place, I am really interested in the techniques, and my vlogs become much more based around what actually happened during the session. And then when I'm in not such a good place, they become very much more introspective. Today, I still feel like I'm making progress on my mindset of being in the present, and I felt like I had quite a good day today mentally, and I had quite a good day with the horses. So it's a lot more kind of talking through what happened, which is nice. So I came up and I came to Mia first. I brought the halter with me, and I had this idea in my head from yesterday about just trying lots of different things to invoke a focus change. I also had in the back of my head that I wanted to hose her today, and so I knew that kind of my end goal was going to be to halter her to get to that. So I came, and initially she looked up at me a few times as I was approaching, which was nice. So I would say for her, like, base interest kind of like on arrival, I would say it's sort of middling. You know, it's been worse, it's been better, but I was pretty happy with that, you know. Any day where she does seem like she has some curiosity about me, I'm pretty happy with. So I came down close to her and just spent some time being in different positions around her, and that kind of seemed to be going okay. Wasn't really looking for anything in particular, was kind of moving when I saw her eyes really look towards me. And then I came towards her and started jumping next to her. And I jumped next to her until she looked up and focus changed. Then I stayed in flow with her for a few moments, about 7 or 8 breaths. Then when I saw a good moment, then I moved positions and I went around to her other side, and then I did some rhythmic pressure with the line just against her like yield point for her hindquarters, which is sort of like at the back of her like barrel of her stomach, like just kind of where like her flanks would be starting. And yeah, and did that, and she did a nice little look around to me. So then I went back into flow, and then I played with putting the halter underneath her neck and trying to lift her neck up. But then as soon as she then looked up and changed focus, excuse me. As soon as she looked up and changed focus, I took the halter away. So it was like there was no confusion about whether I was going to halter her or not. It was literally just clear that like all I wanted was for her to be curious. And yeah, and so I just played around with a few different things, probably for about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but not really that long. And then I came to put the halter under her neck again, lifted up, and she just felt very open. She was looking around, and so I haltered her at that point. And I could have left it a lot longer. I could have played around with a lot more of that stuff and probably gotten an even softer halter, but I wanted to also get the hosing done. I've been on shift today, I'm on shift tomorrow. So even though I wanted to spend that little bit of extra time, I didn't have like hours and hours. Brought her up for hosing. The walk up together was really nice. Just practiced a couple of like stopping and then walking transitions, and that was nice. I came up and started hosing. The hosing went okay, actually. Definitely she would like express that she didn't want it, like she would move away, and I would just let her move away, like no pressure, no response, punishment. And then I would just come with the hose to her and just put it back on again, and then try to go into flow. I think the first couple of times I was fiddling around with the hose and the line, and I just didn't find flow very easily, and so it was more difficult for her to settle into it as well. And then when I really focused on just becoming still and being in flow with her, we actually had some nice moments just looking around, having a different focus, looking around at the environment. And then any time that she then turned to look at me to put her focus on me and what I was doing, I took the hose off until she then looked back to the environment, did another focus change, and I put it back on again. And that just worked really well. So I just basically kept doing that pattern. She had one lick and chew, and I could have left it there, but it hadn't been very long, and I thought that maybe I'd get something better. And then about another 5 minutes later I did, and I got a big blowout, and the head went down and she licked and chewed, and so I finished it there and took the halter off. Taking the halter off was okay. She was a little bit like pushy with her nose, and definitely that could have been better, but overall I was happy with the session. So then I went to Lawrence, and he had just had hay put out of him, like in big bales, the whole herd had. So it's like an important time for him. You know, the food's just come out, he's going to get to have some, then they're all going to be arguing about who's going to get what for how long, and then who gets to go next, and all of that stuff. And so I really wanted to, I knew I wanted to be in flow. I didn't really want to ask too much of him outside of just doing what he wanted to do. And so I came up, but I had this idea that it would be good to do some training. And so I thought, well, I'll just come up and I'll put the halter on, and then we can just stand together and eat, and that'll be a really good association with the halter. I came up, I offered the halter, he said no and walked away. Now, luckily, Lawrence's no is he's quite easily persuadable. And I basically just walked with him, put the halter over his neck, we walked together a little bit, and then I put the halter on. So it was much more of like a get to it. We didn't like, I put it on regardless of the fact that he had said no. And I was hoping that then we could go and eat. Didn't really work out. He firstly wanted some scratches, which was fine, and then I offered him some food and he ate a little bit, but then there was a lot of movement between the horses, and then he ended up disrupted from the hay, and it just didn't quite work out. Then we were waiting together for a bit, and he eventually nudged me with his nose, and so I took that as kind of like an opportunity to leave. I think I could have taken it differently. I could have taken it as an opportunity to play, to do something else, to distract his mind from the discomfort of not having the food right now, which I think could have been good. And I think that what I've learned, actually, what was interesting was being in the herd during that phase, because, you know, in the past I put the hay out and then I'm moving on, I'm doing the next job, you know, back in the days when I was working here a lot, and I've never really stuck around for that period of time, like immediately after the hay is put out. And I saw some very interesting things. I think it is very dynamic within the herd at that time, and everyone's kind of chopping and changing, and horses I saw 2 or 3 horses weeing on different spots of hay, and I'm wondering if they're doing that to mark the different spots, or if they're just doing that because it's soft there. I don't know. It seems like they're doing it to mark it. It's not something I've personally read about before, so I don't know, I might be wrong, but that was interesting for sure. And I think that taking away from this experience today, if I came up in that situation in the future, I think I would have waited in flow with him for longer while he was eating, because I would be more confident that someone's going to come and push him off. And then at that point, that's the point when I can halter. And I halter then, and then we can do something together. Because I think tomorrow, when the hay's been out for a while, if he's on the hay, that's a good time to come and put the halter on and eat. Today was a less good time, because I think putting the halter on then distracted him from the food, and then the movement happened, and so it kind of felt like the halter was taking him away from the food, which is exactly the opposite of what I wanted to achieve. But I think that's okay, you know, like on another day that would have been hard for my mental health, because I'm like, everything has to be perfect all the time. But today I feel like it was a learning experience. It was a valuable experience for me. I'm going to take that on into the future, and make better decisions. So I feel good about it. I felt like we had a good session. And I think at the end, when he was nudging me, again, I think I had 2 choices. I think I could either have left, which is what I did, or actually I could have taken that as an opportunity to play. And so I think those are 2 lessons that I've really taken from the session today with Lawrence. So I'm excited to come back again tomorrow. I feel like, hopefully, provided the rest of the week kind of goes okay, and I continue to be able to find time for everybody, then hopefully I'm kind of on a bit of an upswing again, and the motivation and the momentum is going to continue to grow, hopefully for a few sessions now, and I'll be able to really experiment with some things. I think with Mia, I'm really in a place now where I feel like, if I'm thinking about what a leader does within the herd, like if you have a horse that's in the herd that's in a state of freeze and they're concerned about something, other horses will come and push them out of that freeze. And I think that that is the place that I really want to embody for Mia, because I know she's going to feel better about the world if she changes her focus more often and she's less concerned about the grass. And I think that that is where, that's the key point that I need to start to inhabit for her. And my key goal just needs to be finding ways to influence her to change her focus, and then rewarding that with flow until she gets to a point where she sees me, she's already thinking about changing her focus. And over time then, as she's changing her focus, she's going to start to feel better about the world, and then she's going to associate that with me, is kind of the theory that I'm going with at this point. And I think that basically I just need to be in step 1 of that process and trust the process, and just come up and try to influence her to change her focus. And hopefully through changing her focus and training her to change her focus more often around me, because if she started changing her focus without being stimulated, I would stay in flow with her. And I think if I can get her to that place where she's learned that she can keep me quiet, she can train me to not be annoying if she just changes her focus every now and again, then I think that's going to be the next key to open the next lock with her, to get her thinking about being curious. So that feels good. That feels like a solid goal, which is nice. Feels good to get there. With Lawrence, I feel a little bit more wishy-washy. It's like I can never have both. I either have one or the other. I'm either in a good place, focused on a new goal or a new process with Mia, and then with Lawrence I'm like, oh god, I don't know. Or it's the other way around. With Lawrence, I think I know where I'm going. I also know where I want to be, and I'm aware that I'm not there yet. Like, I want to be kind of working him more physically, but I think that I just need to accept where I am at with him and work on appreciating that and being braver and trying more things like I did today, making mistakes, learning from things, looking back and thinking, I wish I'd done this or I'd done that, and then I can take that forward with me. So yeah, feeling positive about today for sure.